Liz had discovered something that once you understand this, the world will open up to you. Can you tell them about your discovery of the core positive and core negative sensation?
Where it came out of, Bill, is a form of this absolute necessity. Both of my parents had just passed 35 days apart. We had a practitioner training that we were reworking that was just massive. It was like 65 hours worth of video that needed to be shot, directed, and produced. And it was due in like 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. We had this whole several months of like illness and reasons that my parents died. And so, and this thing hadn't even been shot, or none of it had happened. And I could not get my mind back to work. I just couldn't. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't. So I pulled out my Cogno ball, which is what we do with Cognomovement. That's the business that Bill and I have, the modality we created. And I went to work on this feeling I had of I just cannot do this. I can't get back to it. And it occurred to me I had this feeling in my body. And I realized how familiar it was. Now, this is the key, that familiarity, right? So familiar. Well, what I did was I went back in a little timeline. It's an NLP process called timeline work and timeline treasure. And I went back over my life, but I looked for not the idea, but the feeling, to see how many places in my life this exact feeling had limited me, had created what I now call an electric fence. That when I got near it, I felt this tug back, just a pushed back. And how many times it drove me forward and how many times it held me back. And when it drove me forward, it's something that didn't feel great, right? It didn't work out well. Well, in that very short time, it was like a flash of insight, which happens so often in Cognomovement. I realized that this was my core feeling.